formally hand it over. If I could hold it down out there just a little bit. Realtors. Formally handed over the maintenance of Cullinan Park to Sugar Land. Excuse me. Another great example of the new working relationship that the city of Houston has with other cities and counties in this region. Closer and closer cooperation and coordination in ways that save both entities money. 25 years ago, the city of Houston was wise and bold in taking control of, through the Houston Parks Board, of Cullinan Park, way outside the corporate limits of Houston, but within our ETJ. The city of Houston has not grown rapidly in that direction, but the city of Sugar Land has exploded. And that wonderful 700 acres of green space has become an amenity, or could become an amenity for the growing population of Sugar Land. The city of Houston is retaining the park, but we are, in the next 30 years, the city of Sugar Land will be operating it as a passive use park, but a preserved green space for this region. Of course, the other big thing we did this week was renaming the Houston Police Headquarters for Officer Thomas. We are at 95 years old and in poor health. We were really glad that Officer Thomas was able to be there and to be part of the unveiling. We hope that he'll be able to come by and see when the name is actually on the side of the building, but that was a really cool thing to have happen this week. I know that there are a number of questions. So,
Mayor, you mentioned in pop-up at the end there that the likely presence of Hero on the ballot might change what
well, there's no
items?
likely presence. I fully expect it to be on the ballot.
So its presence on the ballot would perhaps change the other items that you choose to put on the agenda for council, or the council would then choose to put on the ballot. What's your thinking on that at the moment?
Well, in talking with council members, the agenda items, the two agenda items that I was considering putting before council for charter amendments, one was term limits, the other is a relaxation of our revenue cap in order to fund public safety. Neither of which would benefit me in any way as mayor. I believe they're good public policy and they would benefit future administrations, but I'm not going to put them out without a high likelihood that they will pass. You can't just put something like that on the ballot and have it pass. There'd have to be a formal campaign, and it was my full expectation that I would be spending my remaining campaign funds and my personal time advocating for these two good government items. But because of the presence of Hero on the ballot, I'm going to be having to split my energy over there. There is no, at this point, group willing to step up and advocate for the other two. I'm not going to put some things out there just to fail. So it may be more timely to bring the charter amendments to next November's electorate. And I can leave that decision to the next mayor. But I'm doing it in consultation with council members. So there was very little appetite among council members for the relaxation of the charter cap. All the council members think that we need more, well, all but I guess Councilmember Bradford think that we need more police officers and firefighters, but they don't really want to advocate for more revenue to do that. And so I think, and so they voted in committee not to move that one forward. So that was going to be a heavy lift anyway. And the term limits, I indicated that it wouldn't apply to any existing council members. So, you know, why have a big, heavy political fight if we already have one looming and we have to be fighting on multiple battlefields? That's a long answer to your question, but that's the process. So I'm doing it in consultation with council members.
And obviously the anti-Hero folks repeatedly talk about the ordinance being about a personal talking about leading that campaign, is there any concern that you being the face of that campaign or putting that as the top priority?
Well, let me rephrase. I'm not going to be leading the campaign. There is a coalition of groups that has come together to fund the campaign and to plot strategy for the campaign. They've already hired a campaign manager and so forth. But really it's important to me. This ordinance, most of the complaints that have come forward in really the few short months that we've had this ordinance have been based on matters of race. I have African American and biracial kids. It matters to me as a mother. It matters to me as a woman. So there are a number of protected groups in this ordinance, and I think all of them will want to come forward and say, hey, there's a reason that every other major city in the country has ordinances like this. We want to fight it. So I'm going to be one of many, but it's not just what I do. It's the fact that you have to have active campaigns in favor of anything that's on the ballot.
And I guess the political question on that, withholding the other two items or maybe not putting those forward, how much of that is in anticipation of the electorate shifting because of you being on the ballot, and how much of it is the more practical political side of who's going to run this and fund it?
All of the above. I mean, it's all about, I'm not in the business of putting things out on the ballot. I'll test the wind. I don't test the wind. I go in to win. And we're going to look at council's appetite to get out and advocate for these, my own bandwidth to be able to advocate for multiple items, whether there is a constituent group that will fundraise and push raising the revenue. Clearly, the public safety unions have indicated their strong interest in raising the revenue cap. We can put more money into police and fire, but they have to tell me that they've done their polling, they've looked at the electorate, and they feel it's winnable. And so all of these factors are coming into play. And remember, it's been less than a week since we found out that this might actually be on the ballot, so we're all recalculating.
At this point, are you leaning more for or against those lining up on the ballot? What would you predict?
Probably the likelihood goes down, and then with this totally out of left field ruling on Dave Wilson's charter amendment, our challenge is that it's 180. We have, and kind of interesting, Councilmember Kubash pushed for the repeal of the red light cameras. We did that, but that ordinance repeal was litigated, and we have a federal judge's ruling that says you can't use a charter amendment to overturn an ordinance. Well, Dave Wilson is trying to use a charter amendment to overturn an ordinance, and so a district court judge has taken this new position, which is, again, 180 degrees from the federal judge's ruling that as we've moved up the chain on the other. So we're just trying to sort out the legal ramifications, but if that's on the ballot, that's even a more crowded ballot. And frankly, considering the wording of Mr. Wilson's item, I think that brings out the lunatic fringe.
Do you have any comments on the Texas Supreme Court ruling last Friday? Their decision that requires on the HERO amendment. The Texas Supreme Court decision. I mean, do you have any other comments on the way the court decided?
No. Again, we had we obviously didn't make a frivolous decision. We litigated our decision not to move forward with placing it on the ballot, and a judge and jury agreed with us. That was being appealed through the normal course. At the same time, apparently the HERO opponents went around everything to the state Supreme Court, so it was sort of an out-of-the-blue decision, and they made it in a way that gave us a very short fuse, because there is a hard deadline in terms of putting this item on this November's ballot. They didn't just say it has to be voted upon, they said it has to go to this November's, either repeal it or put it to this November's ballot. So again, this is various levels of the judiciary stepping all over each other, and we're just kind of caught in the middle.
What do you want to see? What do you want done?
Well, I mean, the council will affirm. I have every confidence that the council members that voted for HERO the first time are going to affirm that it's the right thing to do, in which case it'll be on the ballot and we'll have a vote. I fundamentally believe it's wrong to have civil rights issues litigated, not litigated, voted upon. I don't think it's, I don't think we have full racial equality in this country if the citizens of the United States had been forced to vote on it rather than having judges decide. I just don't think it's an appropriate thing to do, but it is what it is.
Do you see any other legal options that you still have in this matter?
Well, we're, as I said, this is various levels of the judiciary giving contradictory rulings and stepping on each other, and so we're just trying to sort out where we are. But the Supreme Court has told us this is going to be on the ballot, and so we're moving forward with that. A district court in this other issue has said that that needs to be counted so it can go on the ballot, and we're moving forward while we're examining the issues.
You talking about Wilson's?
Yeah, the judge was unclear. He didn't indicate one way or another whether he thought it was a charter, a repeal, or a charter item. Mr. Wilson says it's a charter item. They have different sets of rules. The judge is applying the ordinance repeal rules to a charter item, but so we're asking him for some more information. So but we are complying with the judge's orders.
But you filed an appeal to this decision, or no?
I don't know if we've appealed it yet. We will. I mean, we're actually going back to the judge for clarification first because he gave, in our view, an incomplete rule.
But in the meantime, City Secretary will be counting?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're on a different note, bag parking meters downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Understandably, they're covered during the day for construction, but the evening, is there anything that, have you been made aware that it's becoming an issue?
There are bag, I think you're talking about the fact that in the evenings, suddenly the Astros are playing well, and let us all congratulate Jose Altuve. 5 RBIs last night, 3 hits. Great season, Altuve. And the Astros are doing really well. They're drawing more attendance, and so there's more folks trying to come down and park. First thing I'll say is use transit. There is a light rail stop right there in front of Minute Maid Park. But the other thing is, so more people are coming down, people who aren't necessarily familiar with parking in downtown, and they're scrambling looking for parking spaces. So the second thing I'll say is come early and give yourself time to find a parking space. There's a relatively small number of bagged meters, and they're bagged because we're doing construction. In fact, part of the construction that's going on is we're building a new parking garage over in that area that will accommodate more folks coming to sporting events, but that's a year away. So we are aware of where the bagged meters are. It's labor intensive to come in and bag them in the morning for the construction and then go pick them up again. And the revenue generated by opening up those meter spaces to the city is really, it doesn't make it particularly worthwhile to do. There are, got to know, there are 25,000 parking spaces, plenty of parking spaces to accommodate the fans, 25,000 parking spaces within walking distance of the stadium that are surface lots or underground parking such as Discovery Green. So we think it's an inconvenience when someone sees a close-in parking space that's got a bagged meter, but it's a relatively small number.
Mayor, on a similar note, you tweeted something last week about people parking on the new bike lane downtown. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's something new for the city of Houston to have one of these bright green separated bike lanes. It actually has what we call armadillos, which are those humps that keep people from driving into the bike lane. They're all over the country. Many cities have them. But apparently a lot of Houston drivers either aren't paying attention or don't know what it is, can't believe it. But 285 tow-away violations just on the block. Now, they aren't all from being towed away from the green no parking bike lane, but from that 10-block stretch where the bike lane is, we've been doing a lot of enforcement because it's something new. We removed the meters at the end of March, so there's no place to park. It's clearly marked as no parking. It's in the bike lane. They have to go over the humps to get into the bike lane, and they continue to do it. You guys can help spread the word about what it is and that it's a no parking zone. I hate to have somebody towed and get a big ticket. But again, not everybody was towed from the lane. It's just from that 10-block stretch.
Do you feel like that lane's been used pretty well since it was?
Well, no, the lane is not under full utilization, and it won't be fully utilized until the two connecting pieces on either end are put in. But as you know, next week we'll be starting the Allen Parkway construction. And part of the Allen Parkway construction will be to bring the west end of this bike lane across and into the Buffalo Bio Trail system. And then sometime in the spring, we'll connect the other end. So different pieces of this trail have to be done at different times. So it'll line up very well though with the work that's going to be done on Allen Parkway end. The other end of it is mostly, it's going to be more on terms of street striping and so forth. But again, you have to have certain cuts and the sidewalks, ramps, and safe clearances, and so we're working on it. Once that segment through downtown, the Lamar Green Line is fully connected into the trail systems on either end, I think you're going to see a lot of traffic. But we're not going to wait until it's all fully complete to enforce on that segment.
Mayor, there was an item on the joint processing center today, some improvements getting ready for that. Did you give an update on the progress of that project and sort of what the hopes are on the city side?
Well, this is something that's long overdue. And again, talking about things that take time and you have to do things in a certain order and everything has to line up. The city's been trying to get out of the jail business for 3 decades, close the city jail. Certain things that we did, which are really good public policy things like creating the sobering center, were part of our initiative to reduce our headcount in the jail as we negotiated with Harris County. This new joint processing center gives us an intake place where instead of we close the city jail, we can take our prisoners who only stay on average 24 hours anyway, take our prisoners directly over to this new processing center. The bad guys go to the county jail. Those who are inebriated and so forth can go to the sobering center. Those with mental health issues can get triaged out. It's designed to be a one-stop shop for all of our law enforcement here in the county and to save money. But they should be breaking ground sometime by the end of the year, and so we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's with our agreement with them. So, because what we're doing is we're contributing a portion, something in the order of $25 million, I have to check that, a portion of the capital costs for the new processing facility, and then we will pay them an annual fee for handling our prisoners, and we're negotiating those final elements.
One last thing, I mean, you mentioned the lunatic fringe with Wilson's petition and whatnot.
I'm not referring to the anti-hero folks. I'm referring to Dave Wilson. I want to be really clear about that. I don't want to be, but I have a certain opinion, Mr. Wilson.
And I mean, on that note, though, some of the initial caution that groups like the GHP showed before coming out in support of the ordinance was, you know, that they were saying, Mayor, why do you want to do this? This is going to bring out the lunatic fringe. Do you feel any sense of regret at that prediction, in some sense having come true or risking coming true with it?
Mr. Wilson's charter amendment is a very specific charter amendment that reflects an absurdity, which is it doesn't recognize that for more than 50 years in this country, we've been doing sex reassignment surgery. and that something as basic as where someone can find a place to just go to the bathroom, it should still be under discussion, and someone's DNA and how that assigns them to what bathroom to use. That's what he's talking about. That's different from someone who says, I don't believe the city of Houston should, I want to be able to discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. I think what Mr. Wilson is driving is exactly the kind of thing that the partnership was concerned about. Just some really absurd discussions. And anybody who was here yesterday and saw the men and women who have transitioned and are now trying to live their lives privately, quietly, and with dignity, and his charter amendment would strip them of that. So it is what it is, but just because something may bring out an ugly fight, if it is the right thing to do, it is worth doing, and this is absolutely the right thing to do. Greater Houston Partnership, while they express reservations, not about the ordinance. They never express reservations about the ordinance. They express reservations about the reaction of certain Houstonians to the ordinance. They're going to be with us, and I think every major employer in the city of Houston is going to be with us. It is the right thing to do. Thank you.